Africa a trend? What do you guys think?
I feel like it could be a yes and no. It's very debatable.
In this time of age we're at, we need to stop kind of reacting negatively.
Same.
Start to teach.
It's interesting because I feel like it's both ways. Like I think that Africans are also using this as an opportunity, like, oh, let me sell some prints that I have in my closet.
Okay.
The more you're around certain people, you know if it's genuine.
Yeah.
Now, if you go into certain communities and see it, and you just see somebody have on a dashiki, pump up a fist, and this and that, yes, I understand your message. But sometimes you might be overdoing it.
Hi guys, I'm Wendy with the Kraal, and I'm back again with Chop and Talk. And here we are, part 2 with our topic is Africa Trend. And with me again, I have my wonderful guest. And go ahead and just tell us who you are again.
I'm KOS, founder of Wellabok La Familia and co-CEO of Wellabok La Familia.
Awesome. I'm Ekua. I am the co-creator of the Afro-Lit podcast, an entrepreneur, and all-around media girl. So
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get back into it. You know, it's Africa Trend Part 2, and you guys kind of touched a bit what I was going to talk about this episode. So we're gonna start in with cultural appropriation. So what that basically means, you know, a minority and a dominant group are always, you know, at war, and the dominant group is always taking elements of the minority group, and when they take these elements and apply them to themselves, they always seem better and or looked upon as, you know, better, and the minority group is now even kind of lower to where they were. So what are you guys' thoughts on that when it comes to the Africa is a trend topic?
I think it's just like one of those things where you have to kind of let it play out. Because I feel like, I don't know if you guys remember, in like the middle 2000s, everybody wanted to be Spanish because reggaeton was like playing everywhere.
oh yeah.
Like Daddy Yankee, this Puerto Rican, Nori, you know what I mean? Hot 97 doing floats, you know what I mean? All that.
Right, we all, yeah.
But then I'm not gonna say it disappeared because that's a living culture and it's still, Latino community is still out here.
Right.
But it's not in the media as it used to be.
That's true.
And remember, they were getting radio play, TV, BT was playing, you know, BT had beat, everything. So what it is you gotta kind of let it play out. It's still fresh. Everything is fresh when it comes to Africa. Here in the West, Afro beats. And remember, it's only Afro beats in Africa. It's Francophone, it's South African music, it's East African music. So what it is right now, we gotta see how it plays out. Because now, for me, for example, Black Panther, it's a great movie because they got a lot of stuff from Africa, details, and now let's say they called an Hollywood actor and had him in there. Let's say they called Ivorian actors and Senegalese actors, just actors from Africa. I'm not saying that no, they didn't want to, they're kind of no, but that's what's next. That's what's next. Let's involve the African Americans here, or I like to say the Africans here, and the Africans in Africa, and work together from directors and all of that. That's what I think it's next.
I totally agree with you, and I hear what you're saying. And if we use the example of Black Panther, at the end of the day, unfortunately though, I don't think this movie was intentionally made for Africans in the continent in mind. You see what I mean? Like, I think the storyline, yes, has elements. Of course, Wakanda is supposed to be within East Africa, and like, you know, has all the elements of the tribes and the nations that are present in all 54 nations in some way or shape. But at the end of the day, when it comes to this idea of cultural appropriation, I feel like they want to, and I hate to say it like this, but they kind of want to water down some of the intricacies of African culture so that then it can be digestible for Africans to be like inspired by, and then kind of repackage it and just sell it to them. You know what I mean? Because it's, again, unfortunately, cultural appropriation is about a money-making thing. And I think that when it comes to Black Panther, of course, they didn't culturally appropriate because they gave credit to a lot of the cultures that they were inspired by, and like they had the soundtrack. But I think when you look at the cultural appropriation side, I think it's more so about taking the art, because within the music video for All the Stars, they had artwork that was synonymously linked to a wonderful artist, Lena Victor. And like a lot of people even reference her. They were like, oh my God, they worked with her. immediately for the story to come out that they stole her artwork. So it's just
Exactly.
like little
Right.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I don't blame Kendrick. I don't blame,
No.
you know, I
No.
don't blame, I think it's
No, no,
more
no.
so a larger, because, you know, Marvel is Disney. It's a corporate. You know, there's so many moving parts. It's hard to keep control of it. And so I think for me, the only issue that comes up with cultural appropriation is when designers, like people like Marc Jacobs, wear like turban, you know what I mean? And then they repackage it in a way where it's like, oh yeah, now it's acceptable to wear this to the office because it's Marc Jacobs.
Right.
When my aunt or when my mom are making
Correct.
something,
Right.
you know, now it's seen as, oh wow, it's ethnic. Whoa, that's like rural.
Yeah.
You know, why does it have this connotation?
Right.
You know?
Right, and even with, you know, Black Panther fashion, there's just even things like music or, you know, other things like twerking. When
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus started twerking, like, it was just like, oh, now it's
Oh, it's
kinda
cool. It's cool. You could do it in the
Right,
office. You could do it in the 95
right.
line. Now you
So
could do it in
when
95.
Black people were doing it, it's like, oh, she ghetto, she's hood, you know. And, you know, regardless of your thoughts about twerking, it's just one of the things that, you know, are taken from cultural appropriation. So my question is, do we even have power to end cultural appropriation?
Oh.
Because
Of
it's,
course.
and how do we do that?
How would why we here? We here. You know what I mean? Meaning, look, I'm not spreading negativity. What I'm
Right.
saying is, and I always say this
Yes.
to people, same education, that same person across the table got, I got. Meaning, if a white American is sitting across the table from me,
Yeah.
I don't feel like he has more intelligence or anything than me.
Exactly.
True.
Because we all kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way to 12.
Yeah.
Right.
College, some of us maybe did masters, maybe some of us did forming, some of us did too. But what I mean is all the common sense things that person is gonna try to use to convince me to sell him my culture, I know.
Right.
But the question is, am I gonna allow him to convince me to sell him my culture? What is he gonna do with it? When at the end of the day, I can call a homie from out east, meaning an East African, like, yo, let's work together, let's do this and package it and release it.
Okay.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, somehow, some way, it's not fully black.
Exactly.
And that's where I'm not saying I'm about all people. I'm not saying like I don't want to work with other people, but what I
Right.
mean is it's time for us to have something that is actually 101% us.
Right.
Because if it's 100%, we
Yes.
got 99.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why like look, the same way I'm African, same way I feel like I'm African American.
Yeah.
I like baseball, I like football, I like, you know what I mean? I like all these things.
Right.
So what it is now, it's how do I get, let's say, those kids in Africa a little bit more dreams
Right.
than just, let's say, being a soccer player. In Senegal, for example, it's two options when you would do it. You're either gonna wrestle or you're gonna be a soccer player. If not, you're gonna end up in the market or go buy the boats fishing. Let's give them new things. Because if you notice, when an African plays a certain sport, they become dominant. Giannis, they're calling him Greek. And I'm like, wait a minute, that boy's Nigerian. I don't get, look, that boy's not, they call the Greek freak. I call him the Nigerian, he's Nigerian. I don't want to
Or
hear.
the runners. You
Yeah,
know,
what
they're
a
from
run.
a different country, right?
Right.
And it's not-
You see Okumu at the end of
Right.
it. It's like,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But what it is now, I'm waiting for these celebrities and these people in the media world, let's say that.
Right, let's talk about
In the media world, to be like, yes, I love Greece. Yes, all the way. But my parents are Nigerian.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like me, for example, somebody asked me, oh, who would you play for if you played professional soccer? I would play for the US, but I will tell them, let's say I was like the best player in the world. Like, well, I want to put my Senegal flag right here so they know I'm Senegalese American. You understand what I mean?
Right.
It's one of those things where we gotta find the balance and we gotta start to talk up more. Just because Nike is telling you, oh, we want this image. We want Greek freak. It sounds beautiful. Okay, Nike, do you see my last name?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we
Yeah.
when we're in meetings, stop accepting more and start demanding more.
Yes.
Because they need you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if Nike, now I'm not just saying Nike does it, I'm just saying
yeah,
all
yeah.
these brands.
Yeah, for
Like me,
sure.
I'm the kind of person, if I'm in a meeting with, let's say, a big brand, yeah, you got your demands, but I got mine coming too.
Right.
And I know somewhere, somehow, Walla Boko or something African is gonna be
Come
involved.
on. Yeah.
It's gonna be, if it's not
Yeah.
involved, I don't wanna do it.
Right.
Because you get calls all the time by different people. Oh, come do this podcast,
Especially
come do this
now.
interview.
Right.
And I'm looking at them like, I've known you for 15 years. And now that Africa, I guess, is a trend, you want me to come talk about Africa.
Come on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we got to work with our own,
Right.
and make sure that our own know.
Okay.
It's a system that other people, you know what I mean?
And even just to add to that, stop looking at the West to be the example for it. Because I was having this discussion about Black Panther. It's so interesting how African Americans really love to consume quote unquote African culture, which like, you know, within itself doesn't really exist because we're so intricate in our specificity. But we look to the West to define what Black culture is.
Wow.
Every person in my village, every young person knows who 50 Cent is, knows who Jay-Z is, wants Timberlands, wants all the fubu, and it's like, how do you know about all these things? Because that's what they see on TV.
Right.
That's what they assume correlates with Black culture. You know, so like African American culture has kind of dominated what we define as Black worldwide, you know what I mean? And I think more African Americans or people in the West need to take ownership on that. So demand that they have certain criteria that they want to be filled.
Right.
I think a lot of us sometimes are just comfortable with being invited to some of those meetings. And I think now we're in a stage, like you've said, we have to demand more.
What's one thing, I'm sorry, what's one thing that's missing? I had a meeting recently with some music African industry people. What's one thing that's missing that when we're in our cars we don't hear unless it's 11 p.m., 12 a.m.? African music. You're trying to play your music on a brand that's not our brand.
Right.
How about we stop the little small radio stations, use all the people in the small radio stations to build one big FM station and play all different type of African music. Hire African DJs like our own Funk Flexes, our own Breakfast Clubs. And when these artists and actors come here for, let's say, the Independence Day celebrations, they have somewhere to walk into.
Exactly.
It's the common sense stuff they're afraid to talk about because it might damage their pockets.
Exactly.
So you guys are really getting ahead of me, actually.
I'm sorry. You know when you're full, you start talking. When you're hungry.
No, I love it, but actually I do have one issue I want us to talk about before we even get into what you guys are talking about, which is great. But I do have an issue because someone might watch this, or someone maybe has been talking about this, but they also have like, oh, what about the other Black people who do things that are quote unquote white? You know, so what's the difference between that? And I'm gonna just kind of share a little story about a basketball player, Jeremy Lin. You know, one time he decided to get dreads, and he's Asian. So he's Asian, so he shows up to the game with like dreads. And you know, before he actually got the dreads, it said that, you know, he talked to his teammates, and they're like, yeah, go for it, or whatever. But then he showed up, and another guy, Kenyon Martin, was like, yo, basically he was like against it, because you know, what are you doing? But you know, Jeremy Lin is like, you know, thank you for you know, stating your opinions, you know, but it's cool that you have Chinese tattoos.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So where do we stand when we are out here trying to also demand, like, yo, y'all shouldn't be doing this? But even us, like, we do have things that we're doing, and we pick elements in the Western culture that can also be like, you know, why are you guys fighting? Because there are people who will be like, why are you guys always just talking about this, doing this, when you guys are also doing X, Y, and Z? So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
It's not that deep. It's not that deep in the sense that you do realize that none of y'all own this team, right? You guys are playing for the basketball team. There's an owner somewhere sitting in this arena who's going about his business, who doesn't care whether you have dreads or you have whatever, right? So I think for me, the bigger answer to that is, if he has Chinese tattoos, and if he maybe got them done in a ceremonial way, if he hopefully went about it the right way, and if Jeremy Lin felt as though, you know, because at the end of the day, he still is a minority, he is not white. So if he feels like he wanted to change up his style and have that is his truth, you know? That can never be like our truth, right? Or for me to like express that truth for him, right? So at the end of the day, as long as he knows where the history comes behind it, and he's not out here calling it like dreadlocks, or, you know, because that is like a derogatory term, calling them the locks that they are, then let him rock it. Because at the end of the day, we're here for a bigger purpose. We can't be fighting all of these small battles and expect to be at the table and have enough energy to demand what we want. You know, it's really counterproductive to me.
What's wrong with him having braids? Because my whole thing is, if Spanish people are around Africans for a long time, they'll go to an African restaurant without an African.
Right.
If Africans are around Spanish people for a long time, I'm gonna go order me some Spanish food.
Right.
We live in a time where people are not looking at where you're from. They just like the fact that you're dope.
Right.
I like your style. Right. I like your locks. I like your chain. How many times you guys get asked for bracelets all the time? Oh, can I have this? Can I have this?
Yeah.
Right now, this dragon is not from Africa. This dragon right here is not from Africa.
Right.
But it's from some type of culture.
Yeah.
That I like and I respect. Asians have as much culture as everybody else in the world.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Some people like to express their culture loudly. Some people quietly. Asians are quiet. Asians has had strong dynasties as much as Africans have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care if maybe it was more of a personal thing. This guy's getting more minutes than the other guy, and it's like, let me find something to cause something so he don't play.
Yeah.
Because what it is
and
sometimes.
actually had at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
No. Jeremy Lin.
Yeah.
Me being a basketball fan, I know he didn't do it for a picture, for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
He did it because Jeremy Lin probably for a long time known African Americans.
Right.
And at the end of the day, people only feel a certain type of way if somebody they don't know says that certain word. But we all been around people who's not our color that cause us certain things. And we're like, oh man, that's my homeboy. Man, that's my homeboy. He good. You see right now, Eminem could say something, but nah, he good, man. He dropped records, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's him.
Yeah.
But then if somebody, Eminem cousin, you might not know that's his cousin.
Yeah.
He say it, oh man, he the donkey of the day. He is gonna be.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
Stop fighting personal battles.
Right.
By Monique. I love her, but that's a personal battle that she trying to make.
Wait. That's a different topic.
No, it's a different topic. No, but I'm saying it's one of those things where like you're not choosing sides. Like this person is wrong.
Okay.
But you're just saying, for example, you could be like, oh, okay, all right. No. She's not wrong. Look, I love Monique. That's mama.
We were ready to get him, guys.
That's mama. How you doing, baby? That's mama.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, just it's a way to go about it.
Very true.
Because everybody fought that fight. We fight that fight.
Right.
We get hired to certain jobs. Man, I gotta dress up extra. I had dreads. But I realized when I had dreads, I was the part of the Migos to everybody. And I did dreads because I'm a Biafra. I'm from Senegal. We do dreads.
Right.
And that's just sign of humbleness. We sit on the floor when we come somewhere. Not because we don't have chairs back home.
Right.
It's because we're humble.
Right, it's a respect.
But in America, if I got dreads, oh man, he think he the Migos.
Right.
Oh, he changing. Oh, he's not that. I had to cut my hair down, get some waves. At least I could get waves. At least waves is accepted in the 9 to 5. But our cultures and our tribes sometimes are not. You know, and it's not fair. It's not fair, but hey, what is fair?
And that's not, and again, it's not for them to understand. That's why I believe that if we do what we're supposed to do here, we're here at the table, as you said, demand what we need, there's a multitude of people who would like to receive that knowledge, who need that knowledge. And we don't have to stay here, you know what I mean? We have to go, quote unquote, build our own various wakandas, and that takes that liberty, that freedom to go back.
So with that great segue, so in conclusion, so how can we make Africa the right trend? Basically what you guys have been talking about, like what can we do, not even just Africans, but for the people who are, you know, oh, I love the culture, but how can we take that, how can we help them take that step further to make just not have Africa look like a fad or like, you know, just a trend? Like how can we educate them, or also more importantly educate ourselves to make Africa bigger than just a trend?
Give them the right information. Where does your name come from? My name comes from A, B, and C. Well, my name doesn't come from that's my mom's cousin name. You gotta give them the right information. If they have on a shirt and anything they call dashiki, But some things are not dashikis. They're mazang, they're other things. Give them the right information. Jewelry. Why do Kenyans wear their jewelry like this? If you notice, these rappers are wearing chokers now. Where do you think that influence come from?
Right.
You know what I mean? Give them the right information of why, let's say, you have things on your face. Like, you know, some Nigerians got tribal marks. Don't try to make it look, nah, man, because I was, you know what I mean, I was a part of this thing back home. Give them the right information. We need to give them the right information. And sometimes the right information is not in the textbook.
Facts.
The right information is probably sitting right next to your grandmother or your uncle. Learn. Go teach your kids. Have your kids teach their friends. We have to give them. It's all about giving people the right information. When you have the right information, you will never get lost in the GPS. If you got one number off on that zip code, what happens? You're lost. And the majority of the time, especially now that Africa is cool again, you could tell somebody something. They'll be like, wait a minute, but you didn't tell me that when we was in 6th grade. Oh, I was trying to be down. Being down has taken us back.
It's so real.
After we fought so hard to come back. You know what I mean? Oh, we're coming to America, came out. Oh, Africans are rich now. Man, they got Zamunda.
Seriously.
Man, Zamunda, man, they got gold, queens. But what it is we probably have as much gold in our houses than the rappers do. Give them the reason why Fulani people wear certain things. Give them the reason why these tribes wear certain things. Everything I do is based on a certain tribe. Not always directly my tribe. You know what I mean? Like I used to put henna on my fingers. Because one of my best friends that passed away is Fulani. So that's how I used to. But remember what I said? I used to, for example, connect with him. It doesn't mean everybody from my country puts, or his country puts henna. Usually the women do it. You know what I mean? But what it is give them the right information. So when they write to me, oh, why your fingers, man, look like you're hurt. I'm not hurt. My friend passed away. He was Fulani. This is how I remember him. But in the Fulani tribe, they also put henna on their fingers, usually all fingers and all that other stuff designed. Give them the right information. That's what I got. Give them the right information.
I totally agree with you. And I think that it's allowing people to express themselves and give them that, like, don't make them feel a certain way about expressing it, even if it's different from quote unquote African is. Because I think now we're coming into a place where, and I'm gonna write this think piece because I've been thinking about it for a while. Virgil Abloh is an immigrant, and his parents are originally from Ghana. So that means that Off-White are extensions of an African or black designer. But Off-White is not like centered to African people. He's just a black African designer. And I think he speaks volumes to where we can go if we don't limit ourselves. You know what I mean? So not to feel limited, like, oh, because I'm African, I need to have like the colorful print or the colorful trend. That's only 0.01% of our huge continent. You know, there's so much to learn. There's so much to see. And as you've said, talk to your friends, experience the food, learn what you can in this time that we have here, because it's all about the exchange. And even for people who aren't African, I think it's more about learning your place and respecting that and understanding that you do come from a line of colonizers and like being okay with that. You know what I mean? Because there's a level of sort of integrity that you need to have. Like, you know what, for a long time this history was stripped, but now I actually want to come in and learn from it and also see where my history kind of inflicted, where this history was broken, you know, and do something about that. Because the queen has all the diamonds, but you can't tell me she mined them in England, okay? So it's more about, what if we do a cultural exchange where all of these things are traveling around back to the nations that they were originally from? You know, it takes a mindset thing first. So decolonizing our minds so that we can then decolonize our lands.
And it's funny because now in Europe, soccer players, the majority of the highest paid ones are African. One of my best friend that he grew up with in his country plays professional soccer.
Wow, amazing.
But he plays professional soccer, for example, in Germany, and soon he's gonna be moving to England. But he's like, oh, when I move to England, I'm gonna feel more comfortable, because I have more Africans around me, I'm gonna be good, you know what I mean? Because it's still one of those things where, like, we have now a lot of the European African starting to go back into their roots. You know what I mean? Like when they score goals, they're doing African dances, and just last week they did the Wakanda salute. That's what we wanna see.
There's the drum
because what it is they realize they realize before I do any one of these celebrations sliding, how they gonna know who I am? They just looking at me at the jersey. But my last name is African.
Right.
So if I can't voice my opinion after I score a goal, I'm gonna show you what I am.
Right.
Doing a dance or a certain move. And it goes the same for example, brands like Off-White are similar to my brand.
Right.
Meaning like, we make street clothes look cool. But I see street clothes and I'm like, how can I add African onto it? For them people to know, yes, I'm street, but I'm African street.
Right.
Meaning like, I'll design a bandana, make a hat, add colors to my jacket. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where like, it's either, you always have to find a way to incorporate what you are. So even people physically cannot ask you something, they know what you are. Not all the time they're gonna know 100%, like yes, this guy's African.
Right.
Usually when you see colors, you know where that person is from.
It's not-
I mean, it's the same for African women. When they do their braids or stuff and add certain things to it, like okay, she's African. And you know what I mean? Yeah, my sister. I mean, like you say on the train, like girl, my sister, come sit here. You know what I mean? Or even in the office. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean. When I walk into certain places, you know how we look. Who African is? I mean, walking to a hospital, you're like, okay, nurse. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where like, I'm not saying disregard everybody else. Because just like I said, I'm about all humans.
Right.
Even my logo
We need the allies.
for my company, it's not directly from Africa. It's not. But it's certain things that other cultures did that I know somehow, some way is influenced by Africa.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make sure everybody knows, yes, this is an African brand, but anybody can get involved. But you have to respect that this is an African brand. I'm not gonna come at you, because people are like, no, you gotta change your logo, you gotta put the Africa map. Our voices and our attitude and how we move already speak for how African we are.
Yeah.
300 is one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite movies. And I like the fact that a small amount of people were able to demolish a large amount of people. Because they believed in what they believed, they're living in peace, living quiet, I'm not gonna let nobody come and rule us. That's one of the reasons why I use, let's say, one of those logos, like the Trojan logo.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I put it in every different African color. Now, today people still might say, no, you could have got an African warrior, you could have put a spear on there. Why do we have to be labelized with a spear and a board all the time?
Right.
Why do we always have to defend ourselves? When are we gonna be like, yo,
We own
okay, like it's a few of us, we're gonna hold it down.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you really have to be able to explain anything also you're doing. Like you gotta be ready, me, I'll be ready. I'll be like, okay, I already know, they're gonna ask you, where does this logo come from? Where does this logo come from? And they're still gonna be like, well, you're not Roman. Well, these people did this to our people.
Right.
Africans did stuff to Africans too.
Yeah.
Let's talk
There's
about
no
it.
way they hopped on the boat by themselves. So, I mean,
We
but
don't
all of
have-
that is in the past.
Yeah.
We need to move on and make the world a better place by connecting all cultures together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's only one way plants can grow, from the ground up. It hasn't started growing from the sky down. Meaning some way, somehow, even if we all different foods, still come from the soil.
Right.
No matter what. So we need to find a way to incorporate all cultures together, but not say the Asian culture is better, the African culture is better. No, every culture has uniqueness. You know what I mean? Let's show them, hey, maybe this is the way you cook your plantains. But out here, this is how we used to do it. That's how trading and stuff started. But we kind of went away from that because it's like, oh, now I know how to process it to make more.
Exactly.
But it's killing us.
Yeah.
Right.
In Africa, if you notice, when you eat something back home, it tastes fresh. You're like, man, it tastes fresh. Here, when you could cook it no matter what. That Goya ain't from Africa, so it's not the taste. Yes, it's similar, but it's not pure.
Yeah,
It's not pure because now you go on the train station. I be reading. I'm like, okay, yes, I understand a little bit of Spanish. Why they don't have it in French? Why don't I have it in Wolof? Why? Oh, so you mean to tell me you only speak 2 languages in this whole country? Meaning, like, as we all get older and we all here in America learn and stuff like that, when we get into these positions, we need a mayor. How does New York still hasn't had a mayor, for example, from Africa? And how many Africans live in New York?
That's real. That's real.
And we have a lot of Africans who politics. But it's up to us to sometimes, okay, just because I do music, don't mean that's what I'm focused on. If I see my brother politicking, I'm like, look, we're gonna do a song for you.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna bring the people for you.
Right.
And I need you to speak when the people come here. But I need you to make sure you're for the people. Because sometimes we get used.
Oh yeah.
People be like, man, man, post my flyer, man. You know I always been supporting you. But it's all to say, oh, because he gonna get a check at the end of the day. Even when they lose, they don't look as sad as when that's when I mean, like for example, like when Hillary lost, you felt like, okay, she wanted to redeem herself in a lot of ways and do so much things. Especially for, how does America still not have a woman president?
That's a whole different topic.
That's a whole
different topic.
I'm going. You know, the food was I was full. I
think we might need a part 3 or something.
Right.
I was going.
No,
I was going.
That was some bars.
You guys, I mean, I don't know what to say. We can sit here and talk all day, but at the end of the day, you guys nailed it on the head. We have to educate people, and I just want to thank you again for just contributing such great points. And so, guys, if you're watching this, what are you doing about this? You know, are you just letting Africa be the trend? What are you doing about it? And so, after you watch this, like, share, comment on the YouTube. We want to hear what you have to say as well. And just thank you so much. And this is your girl Wendy with the Kraal, and I'll see you next time with our next topic. Bye.
Bye.